Yeah, she just didn't want to.
She wanted part of that conversation. Good evening. I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, July 16th, 2019 meeting of the Dana Point City Council. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All members of the council are present at this time with the exception of Councilmember Vixoric. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Munoz, is there a need for a closed session?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have several items this evening. The first is a conference with legal counsel as a result of anticipated litigation due to the significant exposure to litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. We have one case to discuss. Next is a conference with legal counsel as a result of existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. We have three cases. First is the City of Dana Point versus the Sunshine Group, also known as the Seaside Inn. Orange County Superior Court case number 3020170091590. Next is Housing is a Human Right versus City of Dana Point. United States District Court for the Central District of California, Southern Division, case number 18CV00155-DOCKES. Last is City of Dana Point versus New Life Addiction Treatment Center et al. Orange County Superior Court case number 3020180102009. Next, we have Public Employee Performance Evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Title City Manager. And finally, we have Public Employee Performance Evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, Title City Attorney. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and recess the public meeting until 6 p.m. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. Let's see here, where are we on this? Brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Lewis tonight, followed by the invocation by OCFA Chaplain Dave Kean.
All right, thank you. Hand over your heart or take your hat off and start with me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we thank you for the gift of life that you give. We thank you for the peace and the blessing upon our city. And we ask now for your wisdom to be given to this council, for the discussion that is to take place. May you guide it and lead it. For it's in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you. That'll bring us to presentations and proclamations. Tonight we have two. We have the OCFA Wildfire Awareness and Prevention Season, with Battalion Chief Steve Hurdle. Meet me up here. Well, I'd like to make everybody aware of what's happening, and I know most of you are, that it's not a wildfire season anymore. It's a wildfire year. We fight these things year round. OCFA just brought on a new resource, a big 1,000-gallon air drop helicopter that can operate at night. I wrote a little something about that in the Dana Point Times, but it's really a cool program where there are actually two helicopters up. It's not just one, and one of them's out there actually clearing the zone, making sure it's safe to fill the tanks back up. We're dropping in the right place. They have night vision goggles. They can see exactly where the fire is. And they have a laser guidance system so the tanker can come in and drop it right where we need it. So we have a lot of great tools here, and the OCFA is doing a fantastic job. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. Mr. Rick Sork said I have to get out earlier tonight, so I have to give you a hard time. Anyway, now therefore be it resolved that the Orange County Fire Authority Board of Directors does hereby proclaim the height of wildfire season beginning in mid-summer and running through early autumn as wildfire awareness and prevention season, and encourages everyone to do their part to raise public awareness, take steps to protect our homes and businesses, and to prevent sparking wildfire. One less spark means one less wildfire. So, Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. I also would like to talk to the citizens of Dana Point about our Ready, Set, Go program. If you went to our website, ocfa.org, RSG, you'll be able to get some additional information on preparedness. This may ring true for a lot of us in the room. One of our points is that you have a go bag for 72 hours worth of supplies. I know with the recent earthquake we've had in Ridgecrest, I know that's been a lot on our mind, a lot of those type of emergency preparedness. It doesn't change. Unfortunately, here in Southern California, we have the earthquakes, we have the fires, we have local flooding. So we expect our residents to be prepared. Please visit our website and you'll be able to find great additional information there. Thank you, Mayor, for the proclamation.
Okay, and our second presentation tonight is a certificate of recognition for life-saving. Could Oscar Estrada, Alec Pollock, and Sandy Andrews please come up? Are they here? There they are in front. For those of you who don't know, we had an incident over the community center during a pickleball game, and we had one of our residents suffer a heart attack on the course, on the court, I guess is what you call it. Who's in the hallway. And with quick action, we have 3 of our residents showed up, started CPR, got OCFA there. Steve's going to come back up and chat about this a little bit. But that just goes to show what happens when people they're vested in their community. they're paying attention to what's going on around them, and they truly care about our residents. And that's what we have here in Dana Point. We truly care about each other. I just want to say thank you and congratulations. It's folks like you that make it worth living here, and I really appreciate all you did.
Thank you.
Should I get, we have some. Okay, this is Oscars. Do you guys want me to read every one of them? They're kind of the same. Okay, so I'll just finish this one. Now, therefore, on behalf of the city of Dana Point, I, Joseph L. Miller, on behalf of the city council, formally honor and recognize Eric Estrada for his professionalism in executing the city's emergency response plan to help a citizen in need and express our sincere appreciation for going above and beyond the call of duty. Congratulations. And this one is okay. Now, therefore, on behalf of the city of Dana Point, I, Joseph O. Miller, on behalf of the city council, formally honor and recognize Alega Pellock for her professionalism in executing the city's emergency response plan to help a citizen in need and express our sincere appreciation for ongoing above and beyond the call of duty. All right. Yeah, I can get this one. Now, therefore, on behalf of the city of Dana Point, I, Joseph L. Miller, on behalf of the city council, formally honor and recognize Sandy Andrews for her professionalism in executing the city's emergency response plan to help a citizen in need and express our sincere appreciation for ongoing above and beyond the call of duty. Congratulations.
I just have to say we're a good team, I guess. So we all kind of jumped in and did what we had to do. And you guys want to say anything?
So it was a team effort. So I'm just glad these ladies were with me the entire time.
Sounds good.
We have some stuff from OCFA as well. I'll hold this for you. Okay, here's yours. Oscar.
Let me hold on to yours and
Okay, so OCFA is super proud of these residents here at Dana Point. When it comes to life-saving, what we've learned through our science lately about early CPR is the key to survivability. So early CPR, early access to 911 is the key here and was the key to the initial success for this patient. They were able to get pulses back on this patient. This patient was transported to a hospital and then was at least able to get into the cath lab. So I just want to say thank you. I know our paramedics, I actually talked with them today, and they wanted to express my gratitude or their gratitude to you for being there and being a first responder. Well, job well done. So for Lika, Oscar, and Sandy, now therefore be it resolved that the Orange County Fire Authority commends you three for your heroic and selfless act and awards you this Civilian Life-Saving Award. Congratulations. Thank you for doing what you did.
Okay, that brings us to the reading of ordinances and titles. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinance or titles?
I do not have any this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That brings us to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and all will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the city council, the public or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Are there any items to be removed by the public?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Staff?
No, sir.
Council? Mr. Federico?
First, briefly, I'd like to comment on item number 12, which is completion of the annual slurry seal. I just want to congratulate Mr. Sinacori and Public Works for finishing that. What is it saying there? $100,000 under budget. Well done. Congratulations. That shouldn't have gone missed tonight. And I'd like in item number 11, development update, just to comment or a question really for the short-term rental subcommittee.
Okay, hold on. Let's handle the rest of it. We'll pull that item for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll move
Wait,
it.
I have two.
Okay,
please.
you have two?
13 and 14.
Okay. So I'll move the balance.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that goes unanimously. That'll bring us to item 11. Mr. Denny. I think there's just a question. but-
Yeah, staff is available for any questions or comments.
Okay. Do you have any public comment?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Federico.
Yeah, I know the consent calendar item, the development update says that the subcommittee is going to meet on August 13th. The Coastal Commission had a meeting last Friday on the 12th, and I'd like to hear if we learned anything from that. And really, I'd like an update on what we think is a realistic timeline on getting a short-term rental draft ordinance out so that we can get some movement on this item that's been stagnant for a long time.
Okay, we have two members up here. Either one of you like to take that question?
Go ahead.
Well, so we had a meeting, and they promised to give us feedback after they've had the draft to them since November, I think. They promised to give us, is that right, Matt? About November, I think we sent it to them.
It was close. It was December.
Yeah. Okay. They promised to give us feedback by the end of the month. I think we now have a date in the first week of August when they said that they actually will provide that feedback. So we don't have any feedback from them yet, only a commitment to provide feedback. And we have a meeting then following that on the 13th to take their feedback. In terms of timing, being that whatever assuming that the feedback is not super controversial on what we plan, which is a guess, but unknown. But it still has to go back through Coastal. And I generally never expect Coastal to act on anything within 12 months. So it could be that long out.
And I'd just like to say, for me, I want us to get this right rather than have some artificial time. The last ordinance we had, in my opinion, was a complete disaster. It was 2 days anywhere in the city, no conditions, no restrictions, anything. And fortunately, we had two residents, Buck and Betty Hill, who spurred the referendum effort and had the council overturn that, or we would have had anybody who could have come in, buy up homes next to us, and turn our neighborhoods into hotels. So I think the lesson I learned from that is we want to get this right and only do this once. Thanks.
Thank you. Have anything else, Mr. Federico?
No, I'd just like to say I didn't attend, but I watched the Coastal Commission conference on Friday. And I understand this is hung up at the Coastal Commission. And I also don't want to rush it. I want to get it right, but I think there should be things that we are working on, and we can't wait for every Coastal Commission return before we are working through this stuff. The one thing that I got out of the Coastal Commission was that they're going to give more deference to what the cities work out at their level. So that's why, back to us and like, hey, let's work this out. Let's get it right.
Well,
And
we had a detail. We worked hard to put together a detailed proposal that we thought our residents would find acceptable in the Coastal Commission. And we got it done before the end of last calendar year with the hope that we could put something together for the summer. And we just couldn't do it. And my guess in timing is we'll go back, we'll look at feedback and see what we need to rework. immediately and put the effort into getting that reworked and back to them. My feeling now is if we can get it by next summer, then I will feel like we've accomplished something, which is unfortunate, but not more realistic. I don't want to set unrealistic expectations because we don't actually have control of that.
One more thing.
Okay.
So here's another thing I've learned from waiting, that time is valuable. 2 years ago, the Coastal Commission was in a completely different place, forcing us to do something that we really didn't want to do and didn't feel we had any choice. Fortunately, we didn't decide to cave on that. And now 2 years later, the Coastal Commission has a whole different view. And they've decided, yes, it's true, taking housing stock off the market isn't good for cities. And had we not waited, that would not have been the case. So, and we're also, there's a lot of litigation going on, and we're getting the benefit of other people spending money litigating these issues rather than us. And so, you know, as I said, time is helping us, and we want to get it right.
Thank you.
For the record, Mr. Mayor, the Coastal Commission said that housing is different in every city, and it's up to cities to determine how their housing stock works and how they should handle their housing.
Thank you.
That is true, but-
Hold on. Okay. All right. I don't think we're here to debate that right now. I think we are just here to talk about what the timeline is on this. And we can do, if you want to have a debate when the ordinance comes back, we'll have the debate over what did and didn't happen. I think this was a simple question. I have a quick question for Mr. Denny. 2 years ago, when we created this subcommittee, I guess almost 3 years ago now, wasn't it? Because Tomlinson was on it first, so it's right. That's but it's been 2. Yeah. Anyway, so my question is, however long it was, 2 to 3 years. One of the directions this council gave was that we need to bring back the hosted solution quickly. And that was very clear, and that hasn't happened yet. And I know staff was working on something. Do we have anything ready just for a hosted solution that we could send to Planning Commission right now and get them looking at it? Because if we wait to get the perfect ordinance, which doesn't exist, you know, how long are we going to wait on this thing?
That's the draft that we're expecting feedback on at the end of this month. So week after next, I believe, Matt, is when they are supposed to get us feedback.
That's correct. It's the first week of August, and it's a hosted stay ordinance primarily.
Okay, so I misunderstood that. I thought that draft that was out there was for hosted and unhosted and coming up with timelines and everything else that was out there. So
no, the STR subcommittee decided to start first with just the hosted piece and to see what feedback we would get from the commission staff on that. So we're anxiously awaiting that feedback and should have that for the STR. And we'll
but that's something that once we get it back, we can act on it. No matter what we do is going back to Coastal anyway. So that's for their approval. So it's something we can be working on our own and waiting for Coastal. After we pass whatever we're going to pass, Coastal's going to act on it. So hopefully we can get through the hosted solution and then work on the more complex issue as we go. Ms. Lewis, did you have something else?
No, I guess we'll talk about that next time.
Okay. All right. Would you like to move the item?
I'll move the item.
All right. I'll second it. All in favor? Opposed? All right. Passes unanimously. That brings us to item 13. Mr. Denny?
Staff's available for any questions.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, we do not.
Ms. Lewis, would you like to lead us off?
Yes, I took this out of the consent calendar so I can vote no. I find the Financial Review Committee as it exists today is basically useless. Just serves no purpose. Its purpose originally was being a watchdog of 5 citizens, each one appointed by a city council member to have a background of financial expertise. They were all Dana Point residents. This has morphed into something that is basically two council members advising council as opposed to outside watchdog, independent voices telling us ideas and suggestions. So to spend staff time for the staff and two council members to talk to the council seems a waste of time to me. We had an interview for representatives. We had two representatives. One was a CPA, one was an attorney. The majority on this council chose the attorney, not the CPA, and that person apparently now has, after some number of a couple months, decided for whatever reason, personal reasons, not to serve on this committee. So bottom line is, I just want to be able to vote no. This thing has been dead for a while, and I think we should just let it lie.
Okay, any other comments from council? I'll go ahead and move the item.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Thank you. Passes 4-1 with Ms. Lewis in dissent. That brings us to item 14, the updated GAN limit fiscal years 2018-19 and 19-20. Mr. Denny.
Staff's available for any questions or comments.
Any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Ms. Lewis.
Yes, so I saw this on there, and I don't think most people even understand what this is, why we're doing it, and how it's calculated. So I would just like an overview, please, for anybody listening, our residents out there, to hear what this is.
All right, the GAN limit, there's an annual requirement, and it actually goes back to 1979. There was an amendment to the state constitution, Article 13B. It was part of a proposition that was on the ballot that establishes a formula that every government entity has to use, every California government entity has to use to calculate what their maximum annual budget appropriation can be. And there's a particular formula that gets built upon each year that gets added to the original number. So Dana Point's number right now is our budget can't exceed 95 million, and our budget's in the right around 40 million. And that's pretty consistent with all the other governments I've seen. There's nobody near this limit, but it is a requirement in the state constitution that we do this calculation and we make sure that our budget is less than. But it takes into account price inflation as well as changes in population. And it's a interesting formula that really results in a number that, you know, we will never get near.
So does the calculation start out with, based on some formula the city is given?
Yeah, the formula is actually in the state, in the Constitution.
Okay.
That we have to follow. So we just follow that every year. It's on tonight's agenda. It's always in our annual adoption of the budget. I brought it back because we made a clerical error, and instead of like 95.5 million that we can't exceed, it's actually 95.4 or something like that. So,
Okay.
But we wanted to make sure our auditors are happy and that we're actually using the right numbers. We used the wrong population change number.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Would you like to move the item? Ms. Lewis?
Sure, I'll move the item.
Okay, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. That brings us to public comments. There will be a 3-minute time limit per person and an overall time limit of 30 minutes for this public comments portion of the agenda. At the mayor's discretion, the balance of public comments will be heard after the new business portion of the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the city council and should not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. State law prohibits the city council from taking action on a specific item unless it appears on the posted agenda. And the city clerk has just handed me, the city clerk will distribute any handouts you may have. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. We are going to start with Ben Yost and Bev Valencia. Or is that Ben? Ben Valencia.
Wayne Yost, Ben Valencia, and Jay Bellamy. Wayne and Ben are longtime residents of Dana Point, and Jay is resident of San Clemente. Mr. Mayor, City Council, city staff, and members of the Dana Point community. First of all, I wanted to congratulate the city on hosting a great concert this past Sunday. For our first concert, I believe it's the most that we've ever had in the first of the concert series. I'm estimating somewhere around 4,300 people in attendance. The weather really cooperated. It was nice and cool out, slightly overcast. We didn't get blasted out by the heat that was inland. Everything went really smooth and the crowd was very appreciative. I wanted to just give a special shout out to Sherry Murphy and Monique Leon with our recreation department. They worked tirelessly from 6 a.m. till 8 p.m. on Sunday, plus all the hours that they put in preparation for it. Also our park department for assisting us in getting everything set up for that event, and it was truly successful, so thank you. I wanted to make an announcement about a special event that's occurring this week, Saturday in particular. Jay Bellamy is a sculptor. He's done many sand sculptures in Dana Point, and this Saturday will be the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 project and landing on the moon. And Jay is going to do a special commemorative sand sculpture at Baby Beach. He's going to commence at 9 a.m., wrapping up about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Hopefully the wind won't blow the sculpture away. So I just wanted to extend an invitation for all of the members of our community to come down to Baby Beach at Dana Point Harbor to view that. We have a special guest with us, Ben Valencia. Come here, Ben. Ben is a member of our Veterans of Foreign War Post 9934. He is also a Korean War veteran. And Ben worked for 6.5 years as a project engineer on the Apollo 11 project. So he's the guy that made it happen. So I'll turn the mic over to either Ben or to Jay if they have a few comments. Thank you.
Okay, I was looking at this sculpture he did over the weekend on this picture. What was his name?
Tyler Skaggs.
Tyler Skaggs is the fellow that, and he got he sculpted something over there. Sunday night, I got a brainstorm. I said, hey, we've got to honor those 3 astronauts that landed on the moon. And I worked on the program for 6.5 years. And after that, of course, I went on and worked on the space shuttle and also the space station. But I talked to him about it, and he says, I got an idea. We can sculpt something for them. We'll put a capsule up there with the 3 astronauts, Collins, Eldrin, and Armstrong on there, and say, happy 50th birthday for the Apollo 11. So he's going to do it this Saturday, and I'm going to help him. Anyway, I don't know if you know Jay. He's done a lot of sculpts over there. Did you see that one there? He's did the Battlefield Cross for us. So
I've done Memorial Day, 9/11 tributes. I do tributes to a lot of people and a lot of things. So just an honor to do it.
Well,
Just wanted to invite everybody down.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to seeing it this weekend. Thanks for being there.
Yeah.
And Mr. Denny, can
Okay.
you get something out on our social media to let people know what's going on down there?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is C. Barrow. I'm sorry. Followed by Bob Oakley.
I beg your pardon?
Bob Oakley will be following you. So go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Cecilia Barrow. I'm here to speak to you this evening about the Recycle Center that is between the Ralph's Market and the Bevmo. It is on Del Prado. It has been there for quite some time. I've been a resident directly adjacent to it, and I have tried for a number of times to reach and speak to Mark Denny about this, but we haven't touched base. I've had no response. I even spoke with your assistant once, expecting and hoping for a phone call back, but I haven't had the opportunity to engage anyone in the city about this. The Recycle Center, I'm sure at the beginning, offered some kind of a benefit. But at this point, it is nothing but a horrific problem. The problem is that it does not really benefit Ralph's Market anymore, which may have been one of the inclinations. They do not give out their receipts, they give out cash. And when you give out cash, unfortunately, it changes the whole perspective of what goes on over there. I have found it, when I first moved there, I did not mind going over with my little bag of recycles. Where we live, we do not do any recycling because, as you well know, CR&R has a fantastic program in the city for recycling. Each of the residents are given 3 barrels, and one of them happens to be for recycling. Where we live, we don't even do that because CR&R has quite an advanced way of handling recycling things. So what I'm asking is for a bit of more of an awareness of what's happening over there. I will leave that to the next speaker to talk about this. But just to give you a bit of a idea of what happens is a number of times during the week, there is a huge tractor trailer that picks up and delivers things. And when they do, they come at different hours, and these are large containers that they are dealing with. So they have to back into a very small area. So the whole time they're maneuvering and shifting gears and dropping these huge cartons down and smashing and compacting them. And their tractors are beep, 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 all times. It's just a very unpleasant.
Could you just go ahead and wrap up your 3 minutes?
Thank you. I would like to propose that there is a much better place that would service the people that use this on a regular basis. And I'd be glad to speak to whoever I need to about where that might be. Thank you for your time. And I've left my phone number on my piece of paper. Please call me. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Oakley, followed by Parag Gandhalkar.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council, and staff. By the way, thanks for all of your efforts all the time. I once thought about running for council and decided I probably shouldn't. So I just wanted to say thank you for all you do, because now I'm going to complain. And I think you have some photos that I've taken over the course of months. And I guess my request is that you consider the recycling center an attractive nuisance. It has lately attracted more and more homeless, if that's the word we can use today. Even one was sleeping in the driveway in a trash can. You have pictures of that. And a car hit the trash can. He wasn't injured, but just the amazing things that happen there. There's several pictures of folks that have spent the night there, and I'm sure they use that area as a restroom. Piles of debris. Sheriffs are out there on a regular basis. We have lots of folks that are passed out, disorderly, blasting music, blocking access. There's an abundance of trash left overnight. Some folks get there, it's closed, so they just leave their stuff, bags of recycled materials. So Cecilia mentioned the loud noise from the vehicle that picks up these containers, but there's also continuous noise of breaking glass because folks transfer the different colors of glass into trash cans. And I think it's been a while, but I did play a video once before for you. I didn't want to bother you with that again. It is mind-numbing and teeth-grinding noise. And my front door opens directly in that direction, and I'm having a heck of a time selling my condo. It's on the market, and we're looking at condominiums that are from 1.1 to $1.8 million. And not that that's very much money in Dana Point, but none of us should open their front door to this day after day after day. And I know that the hours were cut back, but it hasn't stopped the folks from lining up at 8:30 on a Sunday morning. Anyway, I really would hope that we can do something about this finally. I know we talked about this quite some time back, and would love to see that thing relocated. Thank you.
Thank you. Parag, did I get that right? Gandhalaker?
So my name is Parag Gondalekar, Dana Point resident. Me and my beautiful wife there, we've been living here for the past 8 years. Fortunate to be living in such a beautiful city. I want to thank all of you for your public service and the leadership. The reason I'm here today is to raise a concern and ask for your help on certain matter. This matter is it's called CUP 18-0021M. I won't go into details of that. It's about request from church to build a cemetery alternative right next to where we live. This particular matter had come up in the Planning Commission in 2014. At that particular point, me and several others voiced our concern. It was documented. The Planning Commission did not approve city's church's request at that point. 5 years later, now we suddenly find that we get a notice in the mail for public hearing, written in the most obscure way, hard to explain, very misleading, with only 7 business days to appear, which we thought was very unfair. And the public hearing was scheduled on July the 3rd, day before national holiday, which also we thought was very unfair. Later, we found out that the person in charge of doing this, not the final decision, but who was coordinating, was affiliated with the church. And we pointed out to the official that it was a clear conflict of interest. So me as a resident, I'm opposed, and many other people are opposed to this particular request. There are many reasons, but I'll just cite quickly. This really steps on our religious beliefs very strongly, and we won't be able to practice our religion the way we strongly believe in, to have dead remains right next to where we live. Point one. Secondly, there's a social stigma, and the president already said in many cities to keep these elements clearly away from the residential area, and we feel that that is not being followed here. And we are also concerned about the property values and overall ability of the city to be what it is as a result of this installation. So though there is no final decision on this matter, given that the severity of it, and given that we feel like the way it was conducted, not too many citizens were informed or misinformed, possibly. This is my point of view. We would like City Council to be aware of this, govern it, and please help us with your leadership so that residents' voice is heard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gil Gomez?
Hi, I'm Gail Gomez. I've been in Dana Point since I was like 10 years old. My mother, Joyce Williams, purchased her home in Dana, not Dana Crest, in the Thunderbird track about 24 years ago. I also, with Prague and Deepa, I strongly oppose this Calabrium, however you say it, issue with Gloria Dei Lutheran Church. The way they handled it by sending out the notification to come the day before the holiday, I was really shocked by that. I didn't even realize we have a post office box, so I didn't even get the notification in time. But again, I quarterback everything that Parag has said. I really feel that the solution, one of the solutions to either vote in favor or against this, however you say it, Calabrium, is that the person that's in charge of handling all of the letters and the requests from the public absolutely should not sit on the board or volunteer with the church. I feel that is a very highly conflict of interest. When you look up conflict of interest, that's exactly what it is. Like that person should have nothing to do with this. So I think that's the first move that needs to be addressed, is that person should be far removed from anything handling with the public, especially because I sent her 2 emails. The first email, it just seemed like it was a quick, short email. The second email was something that she needed to answer back. And it just seemed like it was the same email. So it looks like she's just doing is copy and pasting an email response, which I feel is very unprofessional. So that's, I oppose that goes in at the church at Gloria Day, and also that person be removed from any type of public handling about this permit process while it's in limbo. Thank you.
Deepa Ayogar.
Hi, everybody. My name is Deepa Iyengar, and I'm a resident of one of the 104 houses that is within a 500-yard radius of the Gloria Day Lutheran Church. We bought our house 8 years ago in Dana Point, and the church was a small building across the street. We thought that buying a house next to a church was an asset because we like living near places of worship. You know, it's beautiful, it's serene, all those kinds of things. 5 years ago, the church wanted to renovate. So we were fully in support of the renovation, revitalization. We thought it was a great idea. It was going to be a good thing for the community. The only thing that we were opposed to was the columbarium because it was against our religious and cultural beliefs. We, like Parag said, along with several other people, opposed this 5 years ago, and the renovation plans were approved with everything except for the columbarium. Now the issues come up again, and we really don't understand why, because nothing has changed since that point. We are not Christians. Our religious beliefs do not allow us to live next to a place where human remains of any form are kept. And according to our beliefs, cremation sites, burial grounds, and cemetery alternatives are all built away from residential areas. There will be about 450 plus human remains within a 500-yard radius of our property, and that's absolutely not acceptable by our religion. If we had bought this property after the columbarium was built, that would have been entirely different because it would have been an informed decision. But erecting it now, where there's nothing before, is a clear violation of our civil rights and our contract with the city. We're also very disturbed about in our opinion, the nonchalant attitude which the city is handling this matter. Like several people have already mentioned, the senior planner on this was somebody who's a member of the church with very close ties. She drafted the document that we received, which was just a one-pager that had words like educational use, memorial garden, minor, and ancillary, which is completely misleading to the subject that they're talking about. Also, she was the one in charge of distributing all the information, the complaints, the emails, and everything else that she received. There were also several complaints, and we don't know whether this is the case because we received a notice, but several people did say that they did not receive notices as well. In our minds, it feels like the city is not paying attention to the needs of its tax-paying citizens while kowtowing to the requirements of a religious institution who's going to be charging $2,000 to $3,000 per urn that's placed in this place. So it's going to be over $1 million worth of income to the church. The Constitution of this country, we're citizens of this country, and the Constitution of this country grants us the freedom to practice our religious beliefs, and building a columbarium next to us is a clear violation of that. And we completely oppose this, and we're willing to take any legal action to stop this from going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ava, I can't read the last name, I'm sorry.
My name is Eva Kornev. I live on Stone Hill in Dana Point for 22 years. It was very quiet street with excellent people. And when I moved, first things what I heard on the next day, somebody from the next fence tell, "Bloody Russian, I will kill you." And today the society has changed and population in our area has changed. A lot of people from different religion believe, but none of us received this letter. this was brought to me to somebody who just know us. And the reason why the religion belief and the memorial service, it's two different things. It's ashes. Ashes didn't have any soul, and it's not supposed to be connected to the money or to anything else, because it's a school not far away. It's a kindergarten on this church territory. Why didn't they put the rose garden, not the memorial service? It's absolutely different things. And also take money for this, it's completely unethical. And this letter, what they show, people showed to me, it was right, is completely unethical in an operate matter, because it's not a price of the houses. It's absolutely else. And if anybody remember what happened a few months ago in Newport, when the children from the school put the swastika and they think that it's what's supposed to be. We have to look and educate our children because this is not acceptable to anybody. And I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to speak, but it's my opinion.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Lilia Smith.
Hi everybody. Reason I'm here because I went to this meeting with my husband for the church.
Could you speak into the mic?
For the church Columbarium, and I feel like it's already prepared show and nobody going to listen us, the people who live by the church. So, and I come here to say, I live like 300 feet from this church, my kitchen window, and going to be in this cemetery for 500 dead people. My daughter already concerned about her window, just looking at the church where they going to put these ashes. And my religion, I'm Christian Orthodox, it's not allowed me even get a party in my backyard where these people, die people, human remains, because my religion is supposed to be quiet place, no music, nothing, so people can sleep because they're dead. And I love my house, and we bought 7 years ago where no small church, no cemetery, and no even I think about it's going to be. So if I knew before, I wouldn't buy even this house. So when my husband told me about, I was crying for 2 days because I love my house, I love my neighbor, but if it's happened, I probably would have to sell my house because I can't stand. And also it's like 5 years ago was a small church, quiet place, more quiet than now. Now it's church gets some business every day. Every day people come over, they get a gym, preschool. I think they open something because it's like every day, because I can see the traffic is horrible now. Now it's going to be, if they're going to put this cemetery, it's going to be funeral. I'm going to listen music like I already listen this bell ring every hour, even in my house. Now it's going to be when I go and make a breakfast, I go and probably listen funeral or something. So I already, I'm so sorry, but I'm very concerned about this, and I want everybody hear me because the July 3rd, no, even nobody from you guys there, and they told us even guy who's supposed to be make a decision, he wasn't even there in this meeting. For me, I feel like it's a church prepare all this show, just they already decided. So maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. So I'm just begging you, don't do this for Dana Point, please.
Thank you. I have one more speaker, but I'm going to ask Mr. Denny, could you reach out to this group and explain to me? I believe this has to go through the Planning Commission or does not?
It's still being considered by the community development director.
Okay, and then, but
A decision has not been made
the
yet.
decision has been made. It will have, if the decision is go forward, we'll have to go through the planning commission.
It can get either referred to the planning commission by the community development director, or it could be appealed to the planning commission.
So you do have, and maybe talk to them a little bit about the staff member that's the member there and explain. Yeah, I don't know if that's a conflict.
She's not a member there.
Okay, all
I
right.
want to state that clearly for the record.
Okay, hold on.
I want to state it clearly for the record that she is not a member of that church.
Okay, so you do have, we can't discuss this here because this is not on our agenda, but you do have a path forward. If the community development director does approve it, you can appeal it to the planning commission and ultimately appeal it back up to the city council if it gets approved down there as well. So there is a path forward for you to voice these concerns. Also, Mr. Denny, could you reach out to the Lantern Bay Villas about the recycling center?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to bring up to our last speaker is Hoyen Ip, and we have a visual aid.
Good evening. I'm Hoyen Ip, trash picker, Dana Point. Long time no talk. Trash hit the fan during the days we were not talking. 4th of July, trashed our beaches. So this kind of pictures were showing up on different Facebooks, including the city's Facebook. Ironically, a few days before that, we got an annual beach report card from Hilda Bay. So it's always interesting to read that report. It says climate change will bring us more rain. So like what the mayor wrote in the paper, we're not going to argue on either side of that. So the fact is the rain brings trash into the ocean. Trash brings bacteria into the ocean. And now we have a new regulation on bacteria. So this is not really good. Before I say more, I want to acknowledge the hard work by our stormwater staff and our ocean water quality subcommittee members. But it actually sucks that when you work hard, you get a result that's really not braggable. So the results are, we have 2 beaches on the honor roll, and it literally says in the report, 3 Dana Point beaches fell off last year's honor roll. The bumper list has 10 beaches and 1 is ours. And that beach was not on the bumper list last year. So now I want to raise City Council's attention. I have a question. Is there a lower hanging fruit you can address to encourage and enable our water quality people to improve water quality? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ip. Do we have any additional public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close public comments and bring us to the public hearings. We have one item tonight. It's the 2019 weed abatement program. Mr. Denny.
Yeah, Mr. Schneider has our staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. I have a very brief presentation. This is the third and final action required for the city's annual weed abatement program. The resolution under consideration is to confirm abatement costs incurred by the city to abate properties that fail to come into compliance. It also directs staff to take action to assess costs against these responsible property owners on the regular tax bill. We've noticed the affected property owners that this item will be on the agenda tonight. We have not received any objections prior to tonight's hearing. Overall, I just want to take a moment to say that we consider this year's program a success. 270 properties were abated through this program, with just a small handful requiring the city to come in and abate. However, I will say we had a presentation from OCFA earlier. Weed abatement is an ongoing issue that we'll be addressing throughout the year. It's not just focused to this specific program. And with that, staff is recommending that the council adopt the resolution provided in your staff report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the council?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. Okay, so I have a few questions. The weed abatement, is this vacant lots, any lot, commercial, residential? What are we talking about?
It is any lot. initially, I think it was a total of, I want to say 271 properties were identified throughout the city. They were received several notices and went through a progressive enforcement process requiring that they voluntarily abate. The ones that did not come into compliance by specified dates, the city went in and abated those properties. And again, the costs will be passed on to their regular tax bill.
So these would include residential lots where people are actually living in the property and they just don't abate the weeds?
That is correct.
Okay, so then my next question is, okay, so I know we've talked about the enforcement now of the code section that requires vacant lots to landscape and irrigate. I understand what August 3rd is our date where we've given them their 60 days, I think is what we're looking at, just to make sure they're actually vacant lots.
That's correct. There's a process that needs to be followed. The first process is the city must document the properties remain vacant for at least 60 days. And then it triggers an abatement process where the property owner will be noticed. I believe it's 30 days they're given to voluntarily abate, and then we will move forward with involuntary abatement proceedings.
And
that is for landscape, not weeds.
Okay, because, you know, I say this over and over, but weed abatement is, to me, not the solution, because weeds grow back in, you know, no time at all. And we do have a code section that requires, at least at this point, commercial vacant lots to landscape and irrigate. So we don't have to keep abating these weeds all the time. So August 3rd, and then the next thing that happens is they get the letter.
That's correct. And I should point out that Dana Point's topography is somewhat unique, that we have a lot of landscaped hillsides, and that tends to be where a lot of our weed abatement issues need to be addressed and where we see the most neglect, and again, primarily from a fire risk. So there is always an ongoing need for the weed abatement program, at least from our perspective, and the landscape provision that you've been referring to is somewhat of a newer initiative that we hadn't previously pursued.
So on those hillsides where there's weed abatement, are they landscaped at this point? And who's maintaining them that there's weeds on them?
I mean, in a large generalization, it's hard to describe every property in the city, but a number of hillside, bluff tops, canyon slopes, et cetera, in the city are actually part of people's private property. And they have the responsibility. In some cases, it's the HOA. In other cases, we identify the property. It could be a school district. Whoever the underlying property owner is, that's who we pursue the abatement against.
And are those landscaped and they just let the weeds grow, or are they just barren hills and they just let it go to weed? Do you know? I mean, as a general rule.
I mean, landscape can be generally defined as just general vegetation. So
Weeds wouldn't be landscaped, would it?
Well, if you let your grass grow too long, it could have originally started as a landscaped manicured lawn that becomes overcome with weeds and then therefore a nuisance that we need to abate.
So I ask this because we have a code section that allows us to demand that somebody who owns a vacant lot landscape and irrigate. And my question would be, should we, since we're in the process of amending our codes anyway, should that be something that we do to encompass all these other hundreds of weed abatements that we could then deal with non-landscaped or hillsides or something, so that we're not just every few months coming back here with weed abatement?
Again, I can only talk in really general terms. You can always look at property specific cases, but a large number of our hill and bluff sides, we actually have regulations that prohibit irrigation. And the primary reason is when those become damaged, it's the primary trigger for landslides. So you could have a irrigation leak that goes undetected for a period of time that triggers landslide issues. And we've had those before in the city. It's not an uncommon occurrence in coastal cities. So again, it becomes a challenge. I understand intuitively why it would make sense to irrigate all our bluff top and hillsides. But again, the trade-off is the risk from the landslide issues.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from council at this point? Okay, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments? Thank you. Is it?
Good evening again, Hoyen. Yep. So that was a good discussion. Half the stuff I wanted to say, I don't need to say now. Well, first I want to say that invoice is really well written, short and precise. Empty lots attract trash and homeless people. And that was a good idea to charge them through the tax bill. So now we're talking. I still feel every time I'm here, I feel there's a little bit of gap in the solution. There's always details need to be worked out because every lot is different. So I just want to offer my personal experience, and hopefully that will filling a little bit of gap. The picture on the left, that's the place I moved into. You see, I got a bargain. So two things I don't have, money and the time. So what I did was that I got rid of the weeds, and then after the first rain in November, then I planted ground cover. So we do have a 60 days there. I mean, this is just all little tricky details anyway. So the rainy season established the garden for me. The one on the right, that's ice plant, it's great. So I also have creeping rosemary. I actually never water the plants, never have time to pay for the water. So for ground cover, last time city manager mentioned we can put mulch on the ground. So that's another thing I did. I have trees, so the leaves. So that becomes mulch. And I also know for a fact that those tree trimmers, they would love to get rid of the chips before they leave the neighborhood, dump in someone's yard. So these are just some loose ideas, and I think we have a hope here. Another thing is that lately we're getting hit by the news that signals the recession that's probably going to come. And since we rely on tourism so heavily, so I would like to see at least lots on PCH get landscaped. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move the item.
I'll second it.
Okay, any more discussion from council? Mr. Federico? Ms. Lewis? Mr. Zork? Okay, I'll go ahead and take the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. We have no unfinished or new business tonight. We've closed public comments is over. That brings us to council reports. Any reports from the council? Ms. Federico?
I've turned in my list of meetings and I don't have anything to report.
All right, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. I'd just like to commend the city on the fireworks display this year. It was probably the best we've seen. It was really great. I understand Sherry Murphy was responsible for a lot of that. So I wanted to give her a shout out and to say that we all enjoyed it. I heard people clapping all around me. And so thank you. It was really an excellent firework display.
Mr. Zork.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing to report, but I have turned in my list of meetings to the clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I've turned in my list of meetings and I have nothing additional to report. Thank you.
Okay, I have turned in my meetings as well. Kind of talked about what I wanted to talk about earlier in the meeting. So I have nothing. Mr. Denny?
I'll follow up with the speakers as you asked to and let the council know afterwards.
Thank you. Mr. Munoz?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to report out from one of our closed session items this evening in connection with the litigation that's commonly known as the Seaside Inn property. Just kind of update the public. A settlement agreement was reached by which the current owner of the property agreed to allow the receiver that was appointed to sell the Seaside property. There's a July 26th hearing scheduled with the judge overseeing the receivership to approve a proposed sale. At the moment, the parties are disputing which of two potential sales the court should approve. As part of the settlement, any new buyer will be obligated to complete the renovation work as approved and permitted by the city. Since the permits have already been approved and issued, it's expected that work will commence on the project within a few weeks of any decision by the judge to approve a sale of the property. In addition, as part of the settlement, any new buyer will be made a defendant in the receivership case in order to allow the court to continue to oversee the renovation work and ensure it's completed in a timely manner consistent with the city's approved plans. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the adjournment. The next regular meeting of the City Council will be held September 3rd, 2019 at 5 p.m. in the City Council chamber located at 33282 Golden Lantern, Suite 210, Dana Point, California. We're adjourned.